I have 2 guns, 1 for each of you.
Welcome back. I'm Doug Cooper. This is Arm the Populace. And today we're going to talk about a few things. We are actually taping this show on the eve of November 3rd. For those of you that keep up with media and current events, November 4th is supposed to be the Act of Rage Terror Day by Antifa. Okay. What did I do for it? I picked up 2 cans of chili instead of 1 in case society crumbles. So that's how much weight I gave it. But there's always the potential of that lone crazy person thinking, hey, that's as good an idea as any to go off the deep end. If it's not November 4th, it's Y2K. If it's not Y2K, it's the Joy Lane incident in Cleveland. It's the Orlando shootings in Florida. It's the Las Vegas tragedy. There's always something. So the question then becomes, what are we waiting for? What is the wake-up call that it's going to take before we collectively realize legislation isn't going to fix the problem? Law enforcement can't fix the problem. There's no way we can hire, train, and keep enough cops employed to fix this. So you look through history, and when we had problems like this, what do? An armed society is a polite society. That's what we need to get back to. Going all the way back to samurais. One sword keeps another sword sheathed. You hear it over and over and over again, but we keep ignoring the lessons of history. With me today, as always, my brother, Charlie Griffin.
Hey, what's going on, people? It's like when my brother asked, why don't you have your CCW? Why are you waiting? Why waste time? There's so many things that are going on, especially now, and tomorrow, whatever that day is supposed to be.
I don't know about you, but I'm tired of hearing on the news about how another person was raped, someone was stabbed, some kid got abducted. And we wring our hands and we think, oh, why is this happening? Well, because we are coming back to the problem they had in the Dark Ages. And in the Dark Ages, it was the right of might, which means if I'm bigger and better with a sword, I could enforce my will on some people. Samuel Colt came along and said, well, I don't think that's really the way we should do things. So he made everybody equal. He said, here's a gun for you, here's a gun from you. Now you cannot be bullied or intimidated, and you guys need to work some stuff out. The problem is today, we have lost that concept. And so you have 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds carrying guns. What do you do in that situation if you're unarmed? You become a victim. It's really simple. And unfortunately, we hear from people all the time that come through the class about the awful catalyst that happened to them, the robbing, the beating, the raping, their loss of a loved one to gun violence, the home invasion. Yes, home invasion. Everyone, oh, it'll never happen. I'm sure that the people in Madeira thought the same thing. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach people before that awful something, before you get raped, before you get beaten, before you get robbed. I'm not saying it won't happen, but let us give you that fighting chance. Does that make sense? Fair deal? Okay. For a deal to be fair, it's got to be good both ways, though. So here's the opposite. At the end of the day, we have not earned your recommendation. I want you to take that piece of paper. I want you to wad it up. Come get me, my brother Rod, yoke us up, and tell us what we need to do better. Because I'm going to tell you the cold, hard truth right now. In a code red situation, for sake of this class, code red means Willie the Crackhead. Willie the Crackhead is my fictional character that I made up when I started teaching this class. He weighs about 100 pounds. He lives in a pile of garbage bags like Oscar the Grouch. And some night he's going to have a broken bottle or a box cutter, and you're going to have to deal with him. Under those conditions, when Willie the crackhead is running towards you with a broken bottle, that is a code red situation, right? You do not rise to the occasion. That's a myth. You fall back to your highest level of training. So unless you are ex-military, a martial artist, you're going to go on to take advanced combat tactical courses with us. Today will be your highest level of training. So not only do we need to make sure that you can get thumb over thumb, trigger or target acquisition, trigger pull, everything you need to put Willie on the ground, you better know how to talk to the cops when they get there. One will take your life, the other will take your freedom, neither of which you can afford to lose.
My whole thing is, if we're planning on giving a warning, I would assume, just like with us CCW holders, use your words. That's what you're going to use, right? Okay. What if that doesn't work? What if, look, I don't want any trouble. I'm trying to leave. I got my groceries. I got my baby or whatever. Please just leave me alone. And they don't want to hear that. What happens next? Well, I don't know. Exactly.
Something that we talk about as a parent. Unfortunately, the world is full of predators. It's just how it is. And the young are always, they're easier prey. There are all of the stories now about the child abductions in places like Michigan, or I'm not talking about the Philippines and over in Indonesia and places like that. I'm talking Walmart and Target parking lots. These kids are getting abducted. And so if you are the 30-year-old mom with a toddler and a kid in a car seat, and someone like me or Charlie and our size come up to take your kids, what do you do? All of you are here today because somebody you know told you about the class, shared a Facebook post, maybe got one of our little flyers. The point is you all heard about it through word of mouth, right? I did not come from a law enforcement background. My brother Charlie, neither did Rod. I was actually a treasury agent, and I love federal service. The only reason I left federal service, my mother had a stroke. I'm the only child, The thoughts of my mother going to a nursing home, intolerable to me. So I turned in my security clearances, I tendered my resignation, I became her caregiver for 5.5 years until she died at home, in her bed, warm, surrounded by her cats, just like she wanted. But I needed something to do that would work with that schedule. I actually went to school to be a professor. I wanted to teach Faulkner and Macbeth and Hemingway and Beowulf and that shit. Turns out I'm supposed to be a concealed carry instructor. Okay. When I first started doing this, I just did blanket advertising. And the problem with that, it's not like being a bartender. If I'm a bartender and you come in my bar, I'm going, you know what, lady, you look a little crazy, so I'm not going to serve you that mojito. I don't have that luxury as a concealed carry instructor. As long as you don't do anything really stupid, like point a gun in my face or shoot me in the foot, I have to sign off on you whether I think you have good judgment skills or not. Well, and it's actually much harder to kill somebody with a handgun than you would think. That's the reason our military, we use rifles or shotguns are even better for close quarter combat than a handgun. We use handguns because they're easier to carry around. But that said, at this point now, as long as we've been teaching concealed carry, I kind of think of it as administering a bad behavior shot. They're probably not going to die, but that hollow point wound tear is enough to stop the threat. I'll call and get them some 911 help, but whatever bad behavior it is, say trying to hit me with an axe or abduct a kid or something like that, it will stop that bad behavior. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach people before that awful something, before you get raped, before you get beaten, before you get robbed. I'm not saying it won't happen, but let us give you that fighting chance. Does that make sense? Fair deal? Okay. For a deal to be fair, it's got to be good both ways though. So here's the opposite. At the end of the day, we have not earned your recommendation. I want you to take that piece of paper, I want you to wad it up, come get me, my brother Rod, yoke us up, and tell us what we need to do better. Because I'm going to tell you the cold hard truth right now. In a code red situation, for sake of this class, code red means Willie the crackhead. Willie the crackhead is my fictional character that I made up when I started teaching this class. He weighs about 100 pounds. He lives in a pile of garbage bags like Oscar the Grouch. And some night he's going to have a broken bottle or a box cutter, and you're going to have to deal with him. Under those conditions, when Willie the crackhead running towards you with a broken bottle, that is a code red situation, right? You do not rise to the occasion. That's a myth. You fall back to your highest level of training. So unless you are ex-military, a martial artist, you're going to go on to take advanced combat tactical courses with us. Today will be your highest level of training. So not only do we need to make sure that you get thumb over thumb, trigger or target acquisition, trigger pull, everything you need to put Willie on the ground, you better know how to talk to the cops when they get there. One will take your life, the other will take your freedom, neither of which you can afford to lose. And that's the way I kind of approach it with people. They say, well, like you said, I don't want to kill anyone, because we do teach in churches. You know, we're actually in the process of putting together active shooter response teams for some of these larger churches. Yeah, that's the society we live in, but at least they're being proactive. You know, as much as I can't believe it, that's horrible that you'd think about guns and shooting in a place of worship and a place of God. Okay, well, we can think about it now, or we can mourn after it happens. I'd rather prepare. And there it comes back again to an armed, somewhat trained society is the only real preparation that I can see taking to prevent these awful things from happening.
Guns were around. I knew of them. You know, my grandfather had one. Uncles had one. It was all really explained to me that they were meant to protect them. Not a single individual that I've known when I was a kid was like, I use this every day because I'm planning on killing somebody. Like, I never heard that. My grandfather had guns, never really took me hunting or anything like that. We went fishing, did a little bit of everything else. I've seen guns used for positive things. I've seen guns used for negative things. I wanted to know a lot more about using more of a positive way after becoming a senior range safety officer. You kind of learn those traits as far as safety in the classroom, all that. You get educated as far as laws, muzzling, a couple different things that you don't really normally hear about, especially talking amongst just regular common folk.
Last thing in the disclaimer section. Regardless of your age, at this point in your life, if you're going to start carrying a sidearm to defend yourself and your loved ones in a crazy world, that means you are entering the world of grown folk, which means you are going to wave goodbye to trigger words, chips on the shoulder, road rage, tempers, all of that. You are going to become the little calm zen center of your universe. Truest thing I ever heard about a gun is a gun makes a wish irrevocably true. I could be mad as hell at you right now, but the moment I squeeze that trigger, I know I'm dead wrong, but I can't call that bullet back, right? Trigger words. There are obvious ones, but I'm going to share one with you that some of my female friends have told me. Some of my female friends have told me that if they get called a bitch, but they put that emphasis on that first beat, like, bitch! Oh, rain start coming. See, you're laughing because you're done. See? Shit, it's time to throw down. All right, look. I have been called a lot of shit in my life. Not once have I had to go home and ice my head because somebody called me a name. I've never gotten bruised from a word. I've never needed stitches from a word. Have you? Anybody? No? Okay. So contrary to what the media shoves down our throat, words really don't hurt. I get mad and do something stupid. 15 years federal time hurts in ways you cannot even imagine. Can we all agree words don't hurt? Have people come through from 21 years old to 71 years old. And while the way you maybe approach and reach them is different, the message still stays the same.
Of course.
But that said, you sometimes get the people that are young that come through that maybe know how to shoot. They need to learn the laws. You get some of the older people that come through. Yeah, they kind of understand the laws because they've been around. They've never seen a gun before. You've got to be able to teach both because it's both halves of the equation. And you work with law enforcement to stay up on this stuff. I mean, that's part of it. And to take those Ohio Revised Code terminology and things like that and make it accessible to every person.
You're right.
Like castle doctrine and innocent party.
There are some people who don't know what those even mean. Castle doctrine, all that. Covington. Where does it apply? With the younger kids?
Does my garage house count?
Yeah. The whole garage, yeah. If it's standalone, no. You connect to the house, yeah. But if you come to class, you'll learn that. See?
There's so many fallacies in her logic, I'm not even sure where to start picking it apart, but that's really how she thinks. Like the moment she gets her CCW, like cops from 3 different districts are just going to swarm on her like she's got 5 stars in Vice City. But she really believes this stuff. And so there's so much misinformation out there that as instructors, it's our job also to kind of dispel that as well. Some of the ridiculous stuff that people come to class thinking, like hollow points are illegal, things like that.
Hollow tips.
Hollow tips.
Hollow tips. It's our job to tell you what's right and what's wrong for what you've learned over the years. You might not like it to find out at the last minute. Either you're 21 or 71. What you've believed your whole life either came from control or social media or just what you were taught. I feel personally it's good to hear from somebody who, not downing any law enforcement or anything, but anybody ex-law enforcement or anything like that, somebody that's out here trying to do the same thing as you. Just Commonwealth people.
A civilian concealed carry course.
A civilian, right.
Last thing on ammunition, at the range, shoot the cheapest stuff that you can find that your gun will take. But part of being a responsible concealed carry holder means carrying hollow points in your gun. Sometimes you hear referred to as hollow tips, hollow points. They come in every caliber, from 22 up to 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. There's a few reasons for this. First of all, hollow points are just made better. They're a little more expensive, but the manufacturing standards, all of that are higher. At the range, we use the cheapest stuff we can find because at the range, if we get a misfire, we just eject it and go on to the next one. In the real world, if I needed that bullet to stop Willie and I get a click instead of a bang, that may be my ass. So I want the best ammunition possible in my gun that I carry. Reason number 2 for hollow points. Hollow points stay in structures better. Regular bullets are designed to penetrate. Hollow points have that hole in the middle. That hole gets filled up with drywall, plaster, splinters. All of that slows the bullet down. Because what I don't want is I go to take my shot and I miss, and that bullet goes through a wall and hits something or someone I didn't intend. Now, I'm not saying that a hollow point won't punch through a wall. I'm saying it's less likely to than a full metal jacket. Next reason for hollow points stay in your target better. Now, yes, we're going to laugh and joke to help the day go by, but there is a certain solemnity to why these don't take this class. So let's just be honest here. Nobody is taking this class today because you want to shoot at soup cans on a split rail fence. That's not why you're here. You're taking the class so you can carry a sidearm to defend yourself and your loved ones in a crazy world. So ultimately, the target that we're talking about is the human body, right? We teach at churches, so sometimes we've got to get our church people over that little hump. So yes, ultimately we're talking about shooting somebody in self-defense. Regular bullets are designed to penetrate. Hollow points have that hole in the middle. That hole gets filled up with skin, blood, muscle, tissue. All that slows a bullet down. Because what I don't want is here, I'm downtown, here comes Willie. Okay, Willie got something for you today, but I forgot to put hollow points in my gun. Bang, bang, bang. Well, Willie only weighs about 100 pounds. So one of those bullets rips right through his abdomen and catches Rod in the leg, who was just downtown waiting on his ride to pick him up. I don't go to jail for shooting Willie, but guess who's going to see me in court? Guess who's going to own everything I used to own?
Congratulations.
You're having a hell of a gun collection. Knew you were a gun lord.
Sell me a block.
Shut up. Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's block. All right. Last reason for hollow points. There are a few ways to rapidly bring down a human being. The first is what they call the delta shot. The delta shot is right here. It is amazing what people can do with half their heads blown off. But you put a round right there, it goes through, it hits the brainstem. It's what they call DRT, dead right there. Problem is, that's a small target. Number two, we don't shoot to kill, so you really want to avoid those headshots or a prosecutor's going to have a field day with it. The second shot is the esophageal shot. It's right where an atom top would be. Problem with that, a little bit to the left or right, you're just hitting meat. You put a round right there, it separates the spinal column, blows out the jugular, dead right there. But again, that's a really small target to hit if I'm coming to you crazy with a box gun, right? The third way to rapidly bring down a human being is to drastically reduce their blood pressure. You do that by opening up wound channels. Regular bullets are designed to penetrate, that's what they're made to do. Hollow points have that hole in the middle, but when you looked at it, the hole doesn't go all the way through. So what happens is the moment that bullet leaves the muzzle of the gun, air starts filling that cavity, but it can't get out. But more air is forcing its way in, pushing that little air out. And there's air between you and I. I don't have to go 100 yards down range to find air. If you're a gun person and you have no life, you can go on YouTube and watch hollow points fired under high-speed film. And you can actually see this play out. And it forms a little reverse tornado right in front of that hollow point. Nature and the laws of physics hates that. It is unused energy accumulated. So it's looking for any way possible to dump that energy. That's why the moment a hollow point strikes the fabric of my shirt, it starts opening up and transferring energy. Skin, blood, muscle, tissue, and it puts that reverse cone shape into your target. So the first round strikes here, it's going to take my lung and shove it up into my throat. Second round strikes here, it's going to take my stomach and shove it down into my intestines. Hollow points play twister with your vitals. That drop in blood pressure is a lights out switch in the human body. Anybody here CNA, RNs, anything help? Oh good. What happens if your blood pressure suddenly drops? You pass out, right? Can you will yourself through a drop in blood pressure? Hell no. It's physics and physiology. So it doesn't matter how big, strong, thug, tough, trained. There's nothing they can do about it. So I could bring a Navy SEAL, Israeli Special Forces in here, put a couple of 22s in their chest, you're gonna watch them fold. You can't just, oh, I'm just gonna take it. No, it doesn't work that way. Your blood pressure drops, so do you. That's why we shoot right here. Sometimes you hear it referred to as center mass. This is the greatest concentration of vital organs. It's known as the cardiovascular triangle. Does that make sense? Now, the question becomes, well, Doug, which kind of hollow point should I carry? I don't know, who should you marry? There's dozens of different types of hollow points out there. Yeah, federal hyper shots, score bonds, DRT, Remington Golden Sabers, pointy critical defense, on and on and on. Doesn't matter. If you're not a gun person, go to your gun store, tell the nice person behind the counter, do you need a box of defensive hollow points? They're gonna have it. Whatever it is, thank them, pay them, load up your gun, carry your good bullets, take them out at the range, shoot your cheap shit. But part of being a responsible concealed carry holder means carrying hollow points in your weapon. That said, there is one hollow point out there that we can tell you without a doubt, save your money, don't buy it. Good, Charlie, get your pet peeve out of the way.
All right. Anybody ever heard of a round called RIP rounds? Yeah. Sound figured out? Basically, what this stands for is rest in peace. Now, as these bullets are going around, we kind of get a look of how kind of cool they look. Some people are like, ooh, it looks kind of scary. You know, they're kind of spiky at the front. The RIP round was made with amazing idea. The RIP round is supposed to basically break apart 20 different pieces, open it up 20 different wound channels.
Oh, hell yeah!
Me and my brother heard about the RP rounds. He was, oh, I'm ready to go buy some. $2.50 per round. Hell no. I was just sitting with it. One of our friends got a whole some RP rounds. They was like, yo, Doug, Charlie, you trying to come to the range, shoot some RP rounds? Hell yeah, let's go. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna grab ourselves some orange juice. We're gonna make ourselves some orange juice at the range. Let's go get it, right? We brought every gun that beats everything. Everything? Yes, everything. Let me tell you this now. They jam. They jam. They jam. They jam. I mentioned they jam because they jam. What happens? We'll take a break here in a second. Basically, what happens with RP rounds, because so much, if you take a look at it, so much of the bullet itself has been shaved away, it gets jammed and stuck on polished feed rams, magazine covers. It just don't work. They jam.
Taking the
I
class?
wanted to get before the law pretty much picked the opportunity for us not to have it. So
Okay.
that's the one reason. And like I said, I wanted to protect my home or whatever.
Sounds good.
That's this young lady right here. No, thank you.
If she's not ready, we won't do it.
She ready.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to give me their reason why they want to take the class? Say your name. What's your name?
My name is Anthony.
Okay, and what is your reason for taking the class?
My reason to take the class is to protect my house and the lovers.
Okay,
That's mainly my reason.
sounds good. Sounds good.
So, you come over my house to house. This is the gun that's laying on the table. You can tell it is a revolver because of the cylinder, but when you pick it up, you notice there's no cylinder release, right? All right. Remember the old westerns or like Django where they have to cock the hammer before the shot? Those are called single action revolvers. And you have to cock the hammer. So if you pick up a revolver, but you don't see a cylinder release, flip the gun over. Look underneath the barrel to see if you see any type of contraption like this. A rod attached to a spring attached to the back. If you see this beneath the barrel, there's got to be a cylinder attached to the wood. It's a single action. You have to leave each chamber.
All guns are always loaded. Now, last though. All right, what does that mean? Let's say Brad sits. What's your name, man? Barry. Let's say Miss Rita comes into my gun shop, right? She wants to come and get her everyday care. Checking out a few guns, you know. I don't know, I might like this one, you know. She walks on down the counter. Another gentleman walks in. He wants to take a look at the gun too. He's looking for everyday care. There's crazy people out there. What he does, he's looking at the gun and he drops the case inside of it. Closes it. Now, I'm still working with her because she can call me down to the counter to come take a look at some other guns. He gives me the gun back. I'll be a loaded gun in the gun shop, right? I'll just put it right back up on the shelf. Go back over her. Well, you know what? Let me take a look at that gun I was looking at earlier. Sure, no problem. I'll pull it out and give it to her. Go ahead and check the trigger pull. Bang! It happens. The reason that is the number one rule. All guns are always loaded until you have to personally check. That means don't take your brother, your sister, your cousin, auntie, your grandmother. Don't take my word for it. Don't take the guy at the gun store's word for it. You check it. Make sure it's open. And it's safe. There's nothing in it. But you wouldn't believe how many times me and my brother have been handed loaded, unloaded guns? Hey man, you know, you want to check out my new Taurus Millennium that I just got, Charlie? Let me see real quick. It's unloaded, man. Here you go. You know the very first thing I do? Drop the magazine, open the chamber to make sure it's clean. Let's say my brother sitting next to me. What's that, one of those Taurus Millenniums? Yeah, you want to see it? Yeah, let me check it out, man. You know what the very first thing he's going to do? Even though he just watched me check and make sure it was unloaded, he's going to drop the magazine, open the chamber, and make sure that it's clear. That main reason why we want to go over that is because we don't want any accidents. With semi-automatics, which we're going to go over later, they're different from like revolvers. Revolvers kind of keep the case on the inside, even after you fire. Semi-automatics,
I got you, Kerry. Thank you.
get one up top. So that means even though I dropped the magazine and I handed this gun over to my brother, and I forgot there was one up top, you're going to have an accident. Rule number 2, keep your finger off the trigger. Obviously, that's a good idea, right? No one wants to walk around the house. No one wants to sit outside. No one wants to sit in the car with the finger on the trigger. You sneeze, something like that, guess what's going to happen? You're pulling that trigger. What you always want to do, either a revolver or a semi-automatic, keep your finger right up here on the front. Now, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and I'm going through my home and I heard the noise, of course, I'm grabbing my gun. You never know what's going to be downstairs. Go downstairs, my fingers just like this, right on the frame. It only takes a half a second, a fraction of a second to get my finger right on that trigger. The reason that I keep my hand here, the moment I trip over something, shoe, cat, trigger's toy, I don't want to put a hole in my floor. Let alone what if it was somebody who was to try to wake everybody up, they're in the refrigerator, I tripped, I hit them.
On top of that, something I'd like to add. You always hear in the news, oh, the gun just went off, and people act surprised. Guns do not just go off. Not nary one of my guns have ever just gone off. I could take one of my revolvers, thumb that hammer back. I could throw it from one end of this parking lot to another. It's not going to go off. I could take one of my Glocks, chamber it, beat on the wall all day like a hammer, let my dog chew it up. It's not going to shoot until the trigger's pulled. This is a civilian concealed carry course. That being said, we have taken a lot of the same training as military law enforcement. A lot of the members of ATP came from those backgrounds. And we just call it being out in the weeds with people. That's what we look for. You know, first time you and I go to the range together, if you tell me, oh yeah, I'm a shooter, I've got guns, all that, I watch what's called trigger discipline. How quickly after you take your shot does that finger come right outside the trigger guard and back up on the frame. That's what we look for. Sorry, there's my little 2 cents. The idea they're trying to get across is muzzling. The idea of not pointing a gun at somebody else, even accidentally, which is a lot easier to do than you think. Today, for sake of the class, unless you're directed otherwise, safe area is going to be the floor. So as we work with revolvers and semi-automatics, we're going to keep them pointed at the floor. If you notice your neighbor muzzling you, the muzzle is the very front of the barrel. The other day, Charlie and I were working on one of his laser sights, and I realized, that gun's pointed right at your abdomen. Sorry, brother, let's try a different way of doing this. Now, it was locked open and unloaded, but it's still not a good idea. As we're going through class, if you notice your neighbor happens to be muzzling you, you don't have to be like, hey, what are you doing? Just remember the floor? Ah, okay, floor, okay. So that's, by keeping the gun pointed in a safe direction, that takes care of muzzling. The other idea, which you may have heard if you're a gun person, know your target. What's beyond that and what's beyond that? Have you ever heard that? A 22 travels for over a mile. So, the other thing that also covers is, let's say, what is your name? Keith. So Keith comes in today, he's like, hey Doug, I got my 9mm with me. I know there's a live round jammed in here. Can you try to get it out? I heard you're a gun guy. Well, sure, I'll help you out. That wall's gonna ricochet, it's cinder block, that's cinder block, the floor's probably concrete, that's a damn window. So nowhere in here is really a good idea if there's a live round jammed in here. I'm going to take his gun and go outside, and I'm going to find a patch of grass or dirt. Once I find that, I'll start tugging the slide, pulling the trigger, smacking it, whatever. If it goes off, bang! Hey man, your gun's fixed. There you go. There's a little hole in the dirt. I'll even call the police myself to tell them what happened. But especially those of you that live in apartments, if you can hear Judge Judy from your neighbor's TV coming through the wall, that wall is not going to stop a bullet. It's not. If Judge Judy can make it through the wall, a bullet can make it through the wall. So take your gun outside if you have any type of malfunction.
If you do live in an apartment, you do have a malfunction in it, please be civil about everybody else that's in that building. Just don't run outside. Oh, hold on, watch out now, baby. I gotta go outside. I'm done, I gotta gym. Whoa, watch out, Miss Burns. I gotta get outside. Wrap it up in the towel, put it in the shoebox, something like that. Walk it outside, patch of grass, and then start tugging and figure out what's going on.
Now here's the cool thing. Does that make sense why we got it done in 3 rules? Keep the gun close, because that safe direction is going to change. At the range, it's easy. At the ground or down range, but that's why we use the apartment example. That's a whole different environment. But here's the cool thing. You've got to break all 3 rules at the same time before something bad can happen. I could take an unloaded gun and I could go click, 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 till my fingers bleed. Nothing's going to happen. I can take a loaded gun. Now, I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I can take a loaded gun, I can point it at Keith. And me and him, I keep my finger off the trigger, and we stare at each other until the Bills win the Super Bowl. How long we gonna be here, man? Long time. The Bengals have a better chance, right? Steeler Nation. Anyway, the gun. Oh, y'all, foul! Don't do this. So the gun isn't gonna shoot itself. Now maybe over some football shit it might, but it's not gonna just shoot itself. You gotta break all 3 of those rules before something bad can happen.
This class right now is on my mama cuz hood rat and chocolate.
It sounds like some Bebe kid shit, doesn't it? His hood rat on my mama cousin chocolate box, and those are his guns.
Very first thing we want to do, take the gun, place it in your non-gun hand. That means you're right-handed, place the gun in your left, left-handed, place the gun in your right. Take your dominant hand, stick it out in front of you just like this, give me a thumbs up. Good job. Take that thumb, find something to cover up, using your thumb. You can use a medallion on my necklace. I get hit by invisible bullets every week. You can find something to focus on using just your thumb.
Light fixture, fire alarm, something.
Once you have that target, focus on that using just your thumb. Close one eye, not both, just one. There you go. Open it and close the opposite eye. You notice that the object jumped, right?
Yeah.
It's a little weird the first time when you see that happen. The reason why we go over this, the eye that your thumb stays covering the target is your dominant eye. Now, does everybody have their dominant eye? The eye that your thumb stays covering the target is your dominant eye. The moment you have to readjust your hand, use the other. 2, 3.
All right, then. He got 3 out of 5 so far.
It's a little fucking loud.
It is loud. That sounds like a firecracker over there. That's because you're not close. That's because you're not.
Hot.
You want me to finish it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shut off to it quick.
Easy peasy.
Thank you.
Good job, man. That's what's up. Say hi to Arm the Populace TV.
Hey, how you doing?
Should they come take a class?
Definitely, yeah.
Was it what you expected from a concealed carry class or a little different?
No, it's better. Better.
All right. Cool. Stick around. Let's do some shooting.